Welcome again to this next video lecture, and the next video lecture is belong to the thought and speech. So see here, actually the count of this lecture is 9, but we are as usual we are splitting this video lecture into 20 minutes. That's why the number of videos will may increase. Okay, so as per the syllabus this is the ninth lecture, but it is the it is around 15 or 16 video lecture. So keep in mind we are splitting these videos into 20 minutes or 30 minutes. That's why video count may increase. So in this lecture we are going to study what is the relation of thought and speech. So today we will talk about thought and speech in intercultural communication. And let us move on. Let us revise a little bit intercultural communication. This what is intercultural communication? What is the significance? What is the meaning? I'm sure you remember these things. We also need to know what makes us different from each other. Why do we consider ourselves different? Why are we emphasizing so much on intercultural communication? Why are we emphasizing so much on intercultural communication? Why are we emphasizing so much on these differences? So on the one hand we say we are the same, we all are the same, but we come from different backgrounds. So you need to remind yourself why is it that you need any training on international business communication and how we are different. So that we can focus on these differences and build on the strengths that these differences afford us. We also need to acknowledge that we are different. We get the same training, we go to the same schools, we do the exact same things, but still we end up being different, and there are reasons for that, and we have discussed some will discuss some more day and in the classes to follow. So let us move on to intercultural interaction. So what is intercultural interaction? Talk amongst yourself. Just discuss, you may discuss yourself. I wish I had live class, and this discussion would have been much more interesting than it's right now, but I'm sure you will just take it from here and carry on with the discussion in your classes. Intercultural interaction is what happens when we begin interacting with cultures that we are not so familiar with. That is intercultural interaction. I will repeat here. Intercultural interaction is what happens when we begin interacting with culture that we are not so familiar with. That is intercultural interaction. It is the kind of communication, the kind of uh, perception, the understanding we have, that we see, what we hear, what we listen to actively, and we'll talk about hearing and listening in another class. And all of this is the situation that we are not so familiar with, and many of you will be going into the world, taking on the roles of big managers, taking on the roles of, you will manage funds worth crores of rupees or lakhs of or hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars at times, and people will be interesting with this money and hoping that you will contribute to the building of a global empire. Everybody wants to grow, everybody wants to work well with people who are outside of their comfort zones, and intercultural interaction is what happens when we deal with the people outside of our comfort zones. This is the interaction that happens when we talk to people we have never seen before, we have never heard before, we have no idea of, and so this is really important, because in business what is important is to sell. It is important to make money using the right ethical methods. So we just talk about the intercultural interaction. So thought and speech, let us focus a little bit about on this. I'm not sure if we have dealt with this before, but we really need to find out how thought and speech are related. So let us mull over this little bit. Please discuss among yourself how thought and speech might be connected. What is it that binds thought and speech? Are they connected first of all? If yes, how? And of course, after this discussion, we can move on to the next point, and I will tell you how these are connected. We think and we speak that seems like the most obvious thing here, but how do we think? What helps us think? Why do we think? What we think? What gives us the impetus to think about certain things and ignore other things? Why should we bother to focus our attention on some things and not on others? Why we should bother to focus on anything at all, and how does it translate into speech? And now, going back to the previous lectures, it all depends on the environment. Everything is coming to us from the environment. Everything that we are doing is going back into the environment. So these stimuli, physical and otherwise, coming to us from the environment, interact what is already here. They interact with our memory traces. They interact with what we know. They interact what we see. And that in turn prioritizes our thoughts, prioritizes our perceptions, gives us of an idea what should be focusing on and what should not be focusing on at that point of time. It helps us to order our thoughts depending on our external and internal environments. So let me repeat again here: the objects we hear, see, those are stimuli. That stimuli gives us impetus to think over that object, and regarding that we communicate. Okay, so that is the thing generally happening right now also. And then we decide, we say, okay, there are few things in the environment. For example, I'm sure you can hear this banging in the background, and I choose not to focus on it. I choose not to pay attention to it. I choose to focus on this class. How do I decide that? I have many memory traces. I have an prioritizers. I have an internal environment. I have an external environment, and my internal environment says that if I focus on you, all the sounds will ultimately cease to matter. So that is one way of prioritizing what to focus on and what not to focus on. Okay, means right now you are listening my speech, but I am forcing as a lecturer I am focusing on the content, and as a listener you might be focusing on the same content, or you might be focusing on the bangings or other sounds in the environment around you. Okay, and how do I decide that? Maybe I had past experience with blocking of sounds that do not matter. May I maybe I have realized that teaching you all is more important than asking somebody to stop that sound. Maybe we do not depending on demands my job. So these are all internal and external environment that help us to decide what is going on in our mind, and that is ordering of thoughts that come to speech. How do we decide what words to use? How do we decide what words to say, when to say it? All these things depends on the feedback we have received from our environment. Since we started sending verbal oral sounds into the environment, we had talked about babies crying, we had talked about learning to speak, we had talked about how we learn the languages, how we learn appropriate usage of languages. Now we are talking about thinking, which is an additional aspect of speaking. We decide what to say, how to say it, what tone to use, when to say things, how much to pause depending upon the feedback, the memory traces left by the feedback we have received from our inner environment. In the past sounds very complicated, but it is not complicated at all. You need to think that when you send a particular sound into the environment responds certain manner. when that response comes to you, your process to the responses coming to you may not have been intended to be uncomfortable, but you, depending on how you associate that response, where, whatever you know about such responses may associate that response with a comfortable uh, or an uncomfortable feeling. At the very basic level, of course, there are so many layers to this. So at the very basic level, you get an idea that the next time I'm in a similar situation, I need to respond like this, or maybe I need to change way I respond, so that when my response elicits to add another from the environment back to me, I'm not so uncomfortable, or my response was so great that the next time I'm in similar situation, I will do the exact same thing. These are conditioned behaviors. Okay, even you are responding in this class, it is also conditioned behavior. So speech is also a conditioned behavior. Keep in mind that your speech is also a conditioned behavior. The tone we use is also conditioned behavior. The words we use in different situations are also conditioned behaviors. And what does this condition depends upon the context. We have talked about the context. It all depends on the context, the environment, the internal and the external context of the people. We are dealing with all these influenced by the context. We will deal with this more as go on in the course, but for now, please remember what I just told to you. So environment is like a context. So and another way, another thing or term you are going to study here that is very difficult, okay, that is ethnocognitivism. It's hard to pronounce. Ethnocognitive Ethnocognitive-ism. Three parts to it. Ethnicity or ethno deals with our context, our environment. Ethno deals with the environment or context. Cognitive deals with the way we think, how we process our thoughts, what we learn from the environment. And of course, ism is the science of all this philosophy behind the connection between the environment and the way into influences our thinking, our learning or training, which is a buzzword in the business industry, and the philosophy behind this connection. So the second word here is problem solving. All of you do it, especially business professionals. You're supposed to think on your toes, supposed to solve problems like this, you're supposed to give responses like this. So problem solving and hemisphericity. What is hemisphericity? What hemisphere are we dealing with? Are we dealing with the global, the earth, or are we dealing with something else? Please talk among yourself. And when you are done discussing that, then at the time please pause this lecture and then move on to what just want to tell you. I want to tell you, hemisphericity deals with the hemispheres of the brain, the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere. We call people left brained and right brained. And let us look at little once again: ethnocognitivism, problem solving and hemisphericity. Why am I using these big words in this class on business and business communication? What does it have to do with the communication? Please, you may again discuss yourself and again come to the slides. The first point here is everyone has the same cognitive component, but learn to use them differently through life. That is the first reason why you are discussing this in a class on a business communication. Okay, we have cognitive components. Okay, we have cognitive components, and regarding that we discuss in this class on a business communication, especially in the international environment. We all have the same biological structure, of course. There are minor variations, and medical sciences dress on these variations. There are some things that are common to everybody. There are other things that are different for everyone. So research on cultural difference indicates that should that word should be in indicates and not indicates that members of industrialized societies and members of non-industrial societies and non-industrial societies and non-industrial societies respond to visual illusions quite differently. So research has indicating that people in industrialized societies that are focused on the building things, on industry, on work with their hands, and members of non-industrial societies, industries or societies that are focused on other things in life. I'm sure the sociologist and the economists here would be able to explain this much better than I can, and I'm sure you read all these in your classes on economics and sociology. Research on cultural difference demonstrate that people in these two different kinds of societies respond very differently to visual illusions, which is what they see coming at them and coming to them from their environment, what they see in their environments. For example, if person from industrialized society may not be able to accept somebody taking the time a little casually, may not be able to accept somebody working in haphazard manner without a plan. Okay, and somebody sitting around noting down a few notes on piece of paper and quarreling in a plan for work, it is a visual thing. If somebody just jots down things and calls it a plan, and maybe we can focus the, we can see here, you may see in this image what is happening here. I will explain. Somebody writes, step 1. Here is the step 1. hmm? Let us call it A and B. This is A and B, C and D over here, and then writes EF here, and writes CD here. Okay, CD is here. Then MN over here, and writes GH here. This is supposed to be at 9, and this is supposed to be at 11, and this supposed 11 hours, this is supposed to be maybe at 16 hours. And I will fit this wherever possible. At the end of the day, I will get my work by done. Means you may see some task is given to everyone. Okay, and it is supposed to complete in a particular day. Now somebody from industrial society might find this strange, and they will say, well, this is not our plan. You will say, industrialized person will say that this is not our plan. Okay, well, this is not our plan and works. And present says, look, I have all the times. I know I need to start at 9. I need to start at 9, finish at 4 o'clock. Can I have all these things that may not in done particular order, that comes across as very very uncomfortable to a person from an industrialized society. So whereas something, see here, you may observe this another image containing A B C D E F G H I J, A B C D E F G H, and here we may say I J. Okay, so start at 9, 11, maybe 13, maybe 13, 15, 15 hours, and if responsible 16 hours. This is done. This is a flow chart. These are all hours times of the day. If I do this, I will ensure that my work till from A to J, from A to J, done in a systematic manner. This will come across as very very professional and competent. Optimum level of functioning visually. So visually to somebody who is talking about it to plan to finish some sort of work. So now again this may come across uncomfortable to somebody who is trying to focus on several things in the environment. In an industrialized society, people will say when you are at work, you only focus on work and work at hand. Okay, keep in mind what is I'm saying. In an industrialized society, people will say when you are at work, you only focus on work at hand. You do not focus on distractions. You do not do other things. Whereas in a non-industrial society, people will say we get our work done. It gets done really well. We are able to achieve results. We are able to think systematically, or we are able to finish the work the way supposed to finished. We follow a different plan, and a plan looks like this as a post to this is done. So person says from non-industrial society says my plan looks like this. Okay, non-industrialized person, see here, non-industrial person will look like this and say and will be able to finish up to n, not only to j. I'm able to finish up to 1600 and 60 hours or 30 hours. You are able to finish up to till j. But again here in the non-industrial society, people are focusing on the context. They are looking that other things coming in the way, and they have their own ideas in their minds. And I am not saying that incompetent just think differently, but these visuals appears very different to people from non-industrial versus industrial societies, and people will respond very differently to this depending on what this spark in their minds. Now see here, we will talk about cognitive styles. So one is the response coming to us from our environment. How do we perceive these responses? How do we start responding to them? We have various cognitive styles according to Lieberman 1944. Hmm? We have four cognitive styles. These are the four cognitive styles that help us functioning in the business environment. So see here, the question is raised here: how do cognitive styles influence behaviors in different cultures? We observe here four types of cognitive styles, that is field dependence versus field independence, reflective versus impulsivity reflectivity versus impulsivity, tolerance versus intolerance of ambiguity, left hemisphere versus right hemisphere. So question is that how do these cognitive styles influence behaviors in different cultures? And the first, before we move on to this, please discuss how these cognitive styles influence behaviors in different cultures. In this class I will keep requesting you to discuss these things in the class. I will give points for discussion. I will ask you to do things at home and figure things out on your own. I'm not going to spoon feed as you as far as possible. So please discuss these things and I will give you some answers later. The field dependent cognitive style. So see here, field dependent cognitive style. This cognitive style rests on the holistic perception of the event. You look at the event in the entirety. So let us take this example. The work began at 9 o'clock. The work ended at 4:30. What happened in the middle, what order the work took is immaterial. The point is that everything from A to N got done. So you look at the whole picture, not at the system has posed to this. You look at first AB got done. See here, AB got done, then CD got done, then EF got done, then uh, GH got done, then IJ got done. We were able to finish the work only up to J, but we did systematically. There was a process. The process can be replicated. So that is a different perception in a field dependent cognitive style. We take uh, everything else, we take this area also into account. All that is happening here. I start my work. If somebody is I start my work, somebody's child is fall sick, or employee of the senior employees go and help out that person. At the end, they all come back, stay at this office for 2 hours extra, then finish the work that the work supposed to go. But somebody's child got sick, you do not have one person designated. Everybody rushes to the hospital and says come on, we'll help you. Or somebody have an accident, everybody leaves their work and rushes to the hospital to find out how their colleagues have been hurted, what happened. And I'm not saying it happens other in the field, in the independent culture. But field independent culture, these problems are anticipated. Field dependent culture, these problems are anticipated, and people are designated to deal with such interruptions in their work or in their learning. So here we observe the example of accident, where we observe the holistic perception of event. They don't leave the work which is assigned to you incomplete. Although they visit the person who is got in trouble, they help them, again they join the work, and in that particular day they complete the work by doing extra work. So let us get back to the slide in field dependent cognitive style. Here there is a holistic perception of the event. There is a sensitivity to feeling and opinions of others in the group. Okay, so let us think about these people are sensitive. People realize that human beings are not machines. People realize that human beings have limits, and it is not at the expense or the cost of work, but it is at the as an added benefits being part of this organization. You also pay enough and attention to the feelings of others. You also pay enough and attention to the limitations that others may be having, and opinions are also taken into account. In a sense, it is perceiving that one is an integral unit of an independent upon one's context or field. That word keeps back context. It is all about content. Field dependent cognitive style is based on the perception of context or the field as a contributor to the manner in which people learn from their environment. Where keep a book in front of me and I am undergoing training, I have people teaching me, uh, you know is being gets a late night 10 minutes, it doesn't mean that the work will be stopped. If the instructor is not able to systematically, it doesn't mean I will not learn everything. The instructor may jump point from point 1 to point 7 and come back to point 5 and may go back to point 3 and then jump to 10, and in the sense cover everything from point 1 to point 10, that is in a different manner. So keeping the context, keeping the ideas, keeping the discussion of a participants in the class, and you can apply these to your training environment or your this current class also. As a supervisor, you happen to keeping the mind the cognitive styles of your employees. Now I have given you the answers to one of the questions asked you later. Anyway, think about this. So field this is about the field dependent cognitive style, and next here is the field independent cognitive style. As the post of the independent cognitive style is when the isolation or rest upon isolation of the details of the field or context, interruption at behind it separately in a work has to be done as per schedule, no matter what is the interruptions. The system has to be followed, things have to be go from person A to person B to person C to person D. You do not jump the hopes, and if something goes wrong, we already had a plan, contingency plan for things going wrong. You have manuals. Your manuals are detailed. In that manuals, all information is given there. So your training manuals are detailed. Your work manuals are detailed. You have a separate sections on what to do if things going wrong. In field dependent culture, you do not take trouble of anticipated what can go in your culture or in the environment. You deal with the situation has the come, and you say I cannot slot this into a category that can put up in the FAQs frequent asked questions. So in the field independent culture, the list of FAQs runs into 5 to 10 pages. Maybe again that an approximate figure, do not quote me, that is just an approximate figure, but then the FAQ are much more detailed, the questions are anticipated, the responses are given, problems that can go wrong in any job are anticipated, manuals are prepared. Both these systems have merits and demerits. It doesn't mean that system is better than the other, but you must realize these are the two manners in which people learn from their environment. Okay, so in the field independent cognitive style, there are compartmentalized or sequence of various elements of the field. Whether they are connected or not, we try and connect the various elements in the field that we are in and try and make sense of them. Hmm? Real life doesn't make sense to anyone. So, real life is not logical, real life is not systematic, real life is not sequenced. But in order to understand real life and deal with the problems in real life, what we do in field independent culture is we take these elements out of their life and try and attribute causes to them and connect them and sequence them, and then we say yes, I can see the equation. It started from point A, went through B, C, D and E. It has to go in the linear manner, and C happened because B happened. C couldn't happen just after AB. There has to be something between A and C. So this is what we do in a field independent culture. There has to be a reason for everything. There has to be logic behind everything. The logic or a cause effect relationship may vary from culture to culture. Again, let us have this culture differ from each other. In a field independent cognitive style, there is a lack of emphasis on feelings or emotions. Hmm? Uh, sub, uh, and feelings are not supposed to be in a different compartment. So feelings are supposed to be in a different slot. When you enter this office, you punch in, you swipe your card, you please leave your feelings and emotions and opinions out of the door. That is what to tell you when you joined a very heavy multinational organization, very productive performance oriented multinational organization. Your feelings, your opinions, your emotions, your personal limitations, stay out of the door. We will have an HR section to deal with those, but when to come work here, please leave them out your resource here. So these things we just observe up to this field independent cognitive style. So little bit we may stop here and we may proceed further in next video lecture. So let us stop here and think over the contents we have discussed right now. Okay, thank you.